Hey everybody, it's your pal Drew Dracy, and thank you for stopping by. I appreciate it. There are billions and billions and billions of YouTube channels to be checked, but if you take the time to check mine, it is greatly appreciated. By the way, if you haven't subscribed already, please hit subscribe and with the bell for notifications. Even if you have, YouTube's been doing some screwball stuff where I know people with like much larger audiences than mine who, for some reason, their subscription goes down for no apparent reason, and it's an algorithm thing. Have you ever heard the word algorithm in a happy way in a sentence? It's always like a thing that you associate with being screwed. So please check if you're subscribed and hit the bell for notifications, and please hit like and share. Maybe you got a fellow comics fan who wants to see some old cool comics. I'm trying to do stuff that's no later than the mid-'80s. Okay, Batman the Outsiders. I saw a preview of this in, actually it was an article about it in Comic C magazine around 82 or something like that, and it really caught my interest. My whole thing with the Justice League was they were a bit stodgy, and in my opinion, they were stodgy. They were sort of in a holding pattern. And the thing is, I know some of these characters had their own books, so you really couldn't do a whole lot. And there's a little subplot where it didn't last very long. It was during like the Manhunter series, around issue 150, where Barry Allen felt a little bit put down by Wonder Woman. He kept wanting to prove himself for about a couple issues. It was a very small subplot. But Firestorm I liked. I picked up a few issues when he came along, and I did pick up the occasional ones when George Perez was on. But I still wasn't much of a DC fan. But if I was somewhere at a comic shop, well, not comic shop, at a grocery store, drugstore, etc., and there were some Marvels that I really didn't want to get. Like, I don't get Conan comics because that's just not my thing. You know, I know they're some of those beautifully illustrated comics and such, but it's just not my thing. So, I have enough here to get Justice League. These are my new partners. What a striking cover for our first issue. And, well, anyway, when I would, as I was saying, if there were Marvels that I didn't want to get at a newsstand, if I either already had them or didn't want them, like they were, like I said, Conan or whatever, I would get Brave and the Bold because I liked Jim Apato's art and I liked Batman. And, you know, whoever, just like Spider-Man, it's like whoever he teams up with, it elevates their status. So you could have some of the crummiest guest stars and still a good job because you got Batman as the anchor. Now, it's Jim Aparo artist. He, notice there's no letterer credit. Well, Jim Aparo penciled, inked, and lettered himself every month. And it's fantastic stuff. Business, Bruce. Blonde or brunette? Actually, a redhead. No need for the hardware, Rooster. That's a redhead thug. He takes that. This is the kind of stuff I really look at that. He picked up a lot from Neil Adams, but to me, this was my Batman because I missed out on the Neil Adams years, and I just missed out on the Marshall Rogers, Steve Englehart era, which I now have in print form and love it. So yeah, I wouldn't compare them. They were just they all have their different styles, and Aparo did kind of pull from Adams without any swipitude. It was still his baby. My God. Gotham Missing in Markovian Revolution. It is Lucius Fox, who works with the Batman Foundation. He goes up to the JLA satellite, which is that's the one cool thing I really liked. But however, like 2 years from now, it will get destroyed. And then Justice League Detroit come around, and they had this secret lair in Detroit underwater. But Grant Morrison brought it back with in JLA number 1, 1996, because he thought it was cool. It's interesting. Grant Morrison is responsible for like really freakish stuff, you know, like the Incredibles and all kinds of wild things. But then he did JLA, and he played it straight, and he had the absurdist part of the Silver Age Justice League, like Starro. I mean, Starro was just a nothing before he came along. He's like, well, for a place, let's go to Markovia. You may have heard of it. We're about to leave. We have to talk. Any discussion, Superman? A friend of mine is missing in that Markovian revolution. We're going to find him. We can't do that. I'm not concerned about him, Wonder Woman. But the millions of innocents caught in the war as well. I expect you to understand that. We've been in touch with the State Department. They're afraid of the situation escalating if troops or the JLA are involved. And I told them we'd stay out of it. You told them, but I didn't. The matter is closed, Batman. I said no member of the Justice League would interfere, and I gave my word. But effective immediately, I resigned. You don't mean that, do I? I've heard of the cries of the dying in the morning and the victims of crime and injustice. This is a great page, greatly designed. And what's interesting is Jim Aparo really, he never, like Keith Giffen was known for getting rid of the gutters in between his panels. And sometimes you really couldn't tell what he was drawing. But this was made specifically to catch your eye, catch your interest. And that's going to be one of those Grail pages that cost a small fortune because it's all there. You know, and it's done by, a master artist who's associated with Batman. And he's like, I am out of here. Meanwhile, Markovia, these two sons, one's going to be a prince, and one isn't. Now, what I like, look at that hair, and very kind of Terry and the Pirates kind of style. It's, so, Black Lightning shows up. And he sneaks in as a favor to Bruce. They know each other's identities. Well, he's listening in. Everything's working out. But someone gets killed. You are under arrest. They'll never believe I didn't know this was coming. So he starts kicking some ass with Black Lightning and changing into his uniform. Nice shadow there. The sound effects Aparo did they were always great. And the face with a couple of lines there just shows you, he's like, oh, that sounded like Ramos. What my vengeance is done. If I may depart in peace, I'll let you live. She's got a magnificent stance. Really good stuff. I mean, Aparo just, he's one of those legends that people don't bring up when they talk about legends. She starts gut the guy like a fish. He gets taken out. Batman is pissed. Boy, I love that. I love that. He's like, damn, a perfectly feasible plan fouled by some outsider. Now I have to free both of. And he finds this girl. She doesn't know what's going on. She has these powers. She has an American accent. And he catches her. She says, don't hurt me. How long has it been since you had food? Or a week? Food? What's food? She's a total amnesiac. She doesn't know how she got her powers either. Meanwhile, the good son, Byron, he ends up getting the superpowers to be a savior during the Markovian War. And note that costume. Does it look familiar? It looks just like Terra from New Teen Titans. And it turns out they were brother and sister. But what's great is DC let that fact hang for like a year or two. So people would suspect that they didn't come out and say it. They didn't even reunite for a while. The difference is Terra deals with, as her name would suggest, it deals with the earth, like creating boulders and just getting all kinds of rocks and stuff. She controls that. Very deadly. He can do that too, but he also has increased gravity renders your bullets harmless. Boop, boop. Lava blast. So he's got a little more variety. Meanwhile, when the guys show up, it's Metamorpho in disguise. I love that. And there's that Terry the Pirate coat actually going on there. So that is really, really a perfect. It's just kind of sinister, and it's not like he has to. Not like Aparo did the whole face. He just hinted at it. Well, things are just getting more and more messed up. And that stance, that's pretty darn cool. Pretty darn cool. And next we have Iron Man. My pal Iron. He's from Iron. He likes to drink Iron City Beer. So 91. This is the second of a two-parter. What I loved about monthly books, occasionally would be a writer or I don't know if it was a edict or. Give me a second. I apologize. What's interesting is around this time, like issue 88 and 89 had the Blood Brothers, which are these creations by Jim Starlin, that came out way back at the beginning of the Things crossover book. And they did 2 issues of Controller, 2 issues. I like the, beginning and end aspect of doing 2 issues. This is what's really great about this. It's Herb Trimpe, and it doesn't really look like Herb Trimpe. And this guy named Bradford, who I looked him up, and he did a handful of comics. I don't know if it just he wasn't satisfied doing them or what. But he really, God, I wish I'd seen more of his stuff. That just, it enhances some of the stiff, works over the stiffness of some of Trimpe's work. Jerry Conway, writer for 3 months. George Tuska, regular guy. Bob Layton. This is the very first Bob Layton comic book. Iron Man, that is. And I didn't know he was the Bob Layton yet, but I do know. I like the inking a lot. A lot. It's just so tight. And much like Herb Trimpe, sometimes Tuska's... There we go. Right there in the middle there. Let's see if I can get that. There. Perfect. It's got that little shading under the nose. But all I knew is that I didn't know much of Bob Layton because he was a DC guy until he came over to Marvel. But it really made Tuska work because Tuska also was not... His face is much like Trimpe's were stiff and didn't show a lot of motion. But Layton, as well as... who did I just say? Don Perlin. Yeah, Don Perlin. They just fleshed out the faces better. Like, that is really sharp. He just gave her like a real nice little makeover. Similar to like what Johnny Craig did in the early issues of Iron Man around 1968. So her name's Chrissy Longfellow, but she's secretly Madame Mask. So I don't know how she gets a makeover, because maybe she takes her mask off and puts a bunch of pancake makeup over the scars on her face. I don't know. It's comics. I think it's everything. It's comics. Right. Yeah, looking sharp. I really like the close-up of the controller. Yeah. And Kim Thompson of, I think he's from the Comics Journal, maybe the same guy. So, like I said, you'll see a lot of people that became pros. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Now, Bob Layton has yet to add his classic shine reflection style on Iron Man, but that's okay. It's coming. So, really, really sharp stuff here. So the Blood Brothers break free, and they're super tough bruisers. I mean, they give the Thing a run for his money, and they did when he teamed up with Iron Man. So, puts one of those laser discs, puts one of those discs onto the Blood Brothers, and his exoskeleton burns out like a fuse box on overload. I like the black with the little white dabbles in there to create that energy, like almost like a implosion. So really good stuff, really good stuff. I just love it. And we go into Justice Machine. This always caught my interest. I've said this many times that indie books, I didn't buy a lot of them because they were always more expensive, and they were on quality paper, which is a good thing. But financially, it was out of my reach. I'd look through them at the shop and stuff, but I just didn't want to part with my money. Where I was already collecting a ton of Marvel stuff, and then I was getting it to DC. So I didn't want to spend more money on something that frankly was kind of the same thing DC and Marvel were selling. I'll just be frank. It was very fun. Only what's weird is this character here, his name is Demon. And that's just no, he's not Demon. He looks He looks like Buccaneer or something like that, you know, a swashbuckler. It's just so odd. He looks kind of like Corsair, who is Cyclops' father. But really, really good art. Created and illustrated by Mike Gustovich. Written by Bill Willingham, Bill Willingham does he ends up doing the Elementals, and he went on to do a lot of writing. So it's always good to start with like a 2-page spread of, superheroes starting their stuff. So, Mike Gustovich has always been a good artist. And my only problem with this, okay, here we go. My only problem is the backgrounds. They're supposed to be inside, and there's a nice simple way to make an impression that they're inside, but that's just too far and beyond. I mean, you don't see a whole lot, but that's genius. I love that thing. And you'll see what I mean in a minute. That's a Splash. That's cool. He's kind of a combination of Iron Man and Dreadnought, a little bit of everything. See in the pink area there's no backgrounds. And at the very least, do speed lines or excitement lines, the lines that start off fat on the end of the panel and then they close up for excitement purposes. Mage. Johnny Quest. Talk about great books. So, there's a lot of dead space here. And a lot of the characters are like mid-range. There's no 3/4 turn in the foreground. I mean, it was a fun read, I'm not going to lie. Kamiko was so cool. They just did a lot of experimenting. Here comes the Elementals. It's Earth, Wind, Fire, special guest, the Fish Gal. You're a shining star, no matter who you are. Earth, Wind, and Fire, ladies and gentlemen. I sound just like the record. Isn't that amazing? I'm good. This is really, really good. This is a good payoff page. Important story page. Well, he does this kick-ass thing where he jumps and transforms into this rocky creature. More stuff happens. You're under arrest by order of the Justice Machine. Kamiko is really, really ahead of the curve when it came to anime and manga. They were doing Robotech, and they did Macross Saga. They did, oh my gosh, what's that really cool one? I gotta think what it is. It is, I can't remember. Oh, Appleseed. That's it. Yeah, I mean, that was phenomenal. My best friend showed me that, and I was agog. So, Jack Kirby petition. What happened was Marvel had a ton of Kirby's original art, and all the artists from Marvel were getting their artwork back proportionally. Usually, it was like 2/3 pencils, 1/3 inks. That's how it's been for me most of my career. And what happened is Jack Kirby didn't get. He had a different contract. He was supposed to give away everything as far as his rights, and he had a bit of he was in legal battles just to get his art back as a start, but they wouldn't give it to him until he signed this petition. But later on, a lot of people in the fan press and smaller press said, I, the underside, believe that Marvel Comics should place no conditions upon immediate return of Jack Kirby's original art. I wish to express my appreciation and love for Kirby, who, by his unparalleled talent and his lifelong devotion to comic book art, enriched the lives of comic readers everywhere. It took some time, but finally Marvel sort of made right. But Kirby only got, I can't think how many pieces. He got like 2,000 pieces of art, and he did, hundreds of thousands of art. But they were stored poorly in this warehouse, and people just stole it. They take it home, or they didn't think anything of it, which was, it's a shame. So, summer special, Captain Canuck. That lettering is I love it. I can't quite describe it. It's great. I like this. There's that little hook goes on this guy. You'll love this one. Got George Freeman, Captain Canuck. They ask, I mean, there's back issues available, but sometimes they ask for like a subscription of like 5 or 10 issues or 12. But the book comes out so sporadically that it would be maddening because you can go like months and years without the book you already paid for. So, yeah, I love the drawing. I always like that guy. I'd like to see him meet Captain America sometime. And the Red Guardian. Peter Dawes, not a pseudonym for Peter David, but large body. George Freeman, color by what's his name? J. St. Claude Aubin, who would go on to work for Valiant. George Freeman, I just love his stuff. I looked it up, his bibliography. It's surprisingly small for his artwork, his pencil inks, but he went on to create Digital Chameleon in the mid-90s, a major coloring firm that worked with comics. So that was his preference, but man, I love this stuff. He sort of got a little bit of a Michael Golden thing when it comes to the lines, and also just some of the exaggerations. There we go to Monster Mentality. It's about some comic artists. This was a tryout for a newspaper strip, adventure strip. It's done on spec. It's like he brought it up to the papers, and they said no. But at this time, this is like 1980, the adventure strips were dying big time. It was all become the comic strips in the newspapers. They turned into just jokes at the office, or they would have like a family dealing with like some silly thing, like some kid, knocked some paint over and they made a pun out of it or something like that. There was a lot of mom and dad strips that were mostly forgettable. Once in a while, Calvin and Hobbes would show up, or For Better or For Worse was a great slice of life, but the rest were just quickie jokes, just bagged out poorly. Yeah, so this is great. I got that early portfolio. This is way back when. Gene Day, before, I think he was on the cusp of being a regular professional penciler. I think he might start as an inker like a lot of pencilers do. This is by, who is that guy? Oh, I think it is, what's that? Oh, Andrew something. I don't know. I can't say his name. Oh well. That's Tom Grummett, ladies and gentlemen. Really great stuff. This stuff, I don't know. But man. Really exciting stuff. Really, really fun. But I mean, don't look for like a long, elaborate, clever plot line or there with like continuity. It's not quite Marvel or DC. The pacing is so odd, but it's still a good read. So I'm not going to dissuade you from reading because it's damn good. So, The Trial of the Watcher. I love this. Believe it or not, this is Al Milgrom, ladies and gentlemen, and he's inked by Klaus Janson, he elevates anybody he inks. Steve Englehart's co-author with Al Milgrom. They were a team. Steve Englehart had been brought on board by Jim Starlin to help with dialogue because Jim was doing all the layouts and plotting. And wow, that is really nice. So much going on here. I wonder if Klaus Janson at this time, he was still at the Krusty Bunkers at Neil Adams Continuity Studio. There's a Holocaust in the Halls of Hydra, and Daredevil was invited. So they forgot to say what issue it was. That's one of those wacky things about the 70s. But the designs of the panels are excellent, and Klaus really, really adds a lot to this. He ends up in the land of the Watchers, not just Uatu, who is ours, but all of them have come together to judge Uatu because he interferes too much. He does not follow their creed, which is kind of like Star Trek. It's like, don't interfere with other races and make changes that will have a ripple effect. Actually, anything could be a ripple effect. Even if you're an observer and you're observed, then that's trouble. Well, it's not so much trouble. It's I don't know. And that only happened because the Watchers, in their ignorance, they met this one race of people on this one planet, and they gave him nuclear power to help, elevate their life, give them power which they didn't have before. And it turns out they blew each other up, the two sides on the planet, out of nuclear war. And that's when the Watchers got together and said, non-interference. We're just going to watch and record and such. But this was long in coming, big time, because there were some things with the Watcher, it just didn't make sense. Man, oh man, I love that. So this one, Watcher summons all of them. Look, I love the colors here. Simple but effective. This is mostly to add a little action to the issue. It's really just incidental, but it's cool. It's done very well. Wait, hang in there, buddy. So you got a slight spine curl, and you can't always go back to another page. So this one Watcher follows, and he's watching, and who cares, right? Here we go. The Super Bowl of Watchers. Pamela Ding Dong. The Watcher named Watu turns slowly towards the intrusion, and great eyes widen. His voice is thunder. I renew my quest to speak in Earth Watcher's defense, if you please. I have personal knowledge of his actions, as do many of us, Captain Marvel of the Kree. Are we not Watchers? Do we not watch ourselves? You have no right to interfere. So he starts off saying, how they gave this, this, I'll just say it right here, our Watchers' fathers declared let me start over. I am opposed such generosity for selfish reasons, and so is outvoted. We traveled to a distant planet and presented them with power of the atom to heat the homes, to cure the sick. Came back, everything went kablooey, and he made that vow. And here he goes. Starts off with he revealed himself in issue 13 of FF. He helped the FF against the Red Ghost and his apes. And then the Molecule Man showed up in issue 20, and he showed up. The next time he encountered them, he transported them from the moon to the Earth. 29, Avengers 14 had him. Apparently he confined his interest solely to the Fantastic Four, since he later ignored the Avengers and a wounded Wasp to watch a space siege. Hey, I said it right the first time. Then I totally get this, and warned the Torture Thing and others about, rather than the Avengers, where he found Kang in the past, which was Strange Tales. And then he gave Reed Richards this device to conquer his foes. They're basically breaking into the wedding of Reed and Sue. Then comes, we're like just 50 issues in, and it's 5 times already Watchers interfered, debating with Galactus. Basically fixed everything by having the Torch get the ultimate nullifier. That's a main interference there, big time. And it was so grandiose that you kind of accepted it at the time, but looking back, he came and stood aloof. Okay, 72. He got a cocoon, brought it to Earth. Thor had to fight it 164 to 166. And then the Overmind trod the Earth, and he spoke again. And Avengers 101, he solved the problem. He basically is a Deus Ex Machina. You might say, Drew, I'm sick of that phrase. You say it all the time. I mostly say it about Odin and some others. So he just stood around for the Avengers-Defenders clash. This is not the conduct of a watcher. Yeah, that's right. You got that right. But he always aided or thought hurt it. He's always been benevolent, except in my case. There was a couple issues earlier where the Watcher turned on Captain Marvel, but it was never, ever, ever explained. So, the cat. And Rick Jones is like, help him, Watcher. He stood up for you. I'm sorry, Rick Jones. I cannot. What? That's going to be the lowest thing I ever. I shall aid your friend, Rick Jones. It would be a bad thing for the man in red to perish. This is the earlier guy who was just straying. Halt, young Watcher. This is not how he lived. So say you, Elder, but this man does not deserve to die. Who are you to know? You guys are debating? Get that Kirby crackle going. Love that Kirby crackle. So, I'm trying this. If you were to take action like Rick or Uatu with careful consideration to the cause, you could save valuable, calculable lives. While Earth alone, you could give them energy systems. One, make the desert fertile. Make them understand they are not alone. But what are the trauma induced by the awesome intrusion? The paranoia, helplessness, and rebellion it would inevitably induce. Marvel, I admire your action, and you have led this youth to admire it as well. The only thing is, he's colored green here, and that's an unfortunate choice because that big blobby lava lamp of a character, the Supreme Intelligence, is that color. So it threw me off at first. So, but action breeds reaction, which breeds reaction, which breeds reaction, blah, 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 blah. Too much is happening for any one thing to matter. Everything that happens is true. Truth is all that concerns me. If I take position, allowing myself one position, I must lose sight. Start over. If I take action, aligning myself with one position, I must lose sight of the truths that oppose my position and reaction. That's kind of an awkward sentence. So he gives this speech that Uatu does. And he says, I've learned my lesson. For the second time, I shall not do wrong again. It is good. I mean, that's it? You'll say good and they'll believe me. Well, after all, he is a watcher. The watcher again watching. Hey, watch out, buddy. So, but however, I love this issue. I got this issue like in '78 or something. I found it at a flea market of all things, and read this a billion times over. I would have. This is one of those things where I would like it to be like a little longer. This could have been a 2-issue story. Not a 6-issue story. But I'm big on 2 issues. I think that people should start doing that, but I don't know. Who knows? All I know is I love comics. If you're watching this channel, you are much loved and appreciated. And we love comics. We share our joy. And thank you for any nice comments you leave. Share if you can. And please double check that you're still subscribed. YouTube's been really screwing up a lot of YouTubers that have a much larger audience than mine have had subscriptions drop off through some crazed algorithm. Have you ever heard the word algorithm in a happy sentence? It's so please double check that you're still subscribed and get notification and all that. Please hit like and share with somebody. And like I said, comment. Tell me anything that you enjoyed about Captain Marvel, Captain Canuck, Justice Machine, Iron Man, early Bob Layton, and Batman and the Outsiders. By the way, it was like 2 years later, Batman, they took him out of the Outsiders, just these guys. I'm sure Joe O'Hara was like, I just want to drop Batman. And he did eventually do the regular series. Okay, I keep saying like I'm done, but I am done. All right, have a good day. Be safe and be good to each other.